Hello and welcome back to the FCS Football Channel, and today we are doing a tier list of Manchester United players this season. Now, just a quick caveat before we get into the tier list. We aren't going to be looking at players that have made one-off appearances or has hardly played. So players like Kobbie Mainoo, Tom Heaton, Martin Dubravka, they will not feature on this list despite the fact they have played games for this season. I just don't see any point, because if you've played one game, what can you rank them? Do you put them in A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, or S tier? There's just no real way to be able to rank them fairly, so they've just been ignored from this list. Let's get into the first name, and that is number 1, David De Gea. He played 58 games this season, got 25 clean sheets. Including that 25 clean sheets was the Premier League Golden Glove, so the most clean sheets in the Premier League this season. Now, we know about David De Gea. His big flaws are the number of mistakes he's made this season. You think back to West Ham, you think to Everton, you think Brentford, Sevilla, potentially even the FA Cup final. Big mistakes in big games. However, he's also got some fantastic shot-stopping ability. And in some games, I think back to the FA Cup quarter-final against Fulham, in the Carabao Cup final. Great performances in those games, keeping Manchester United in it. It's hard to really rank De Gea because he's got a lot of pros, the clean sheets, the amazing saves, but he limits us in the way we can play. He cannot ball play. He's not a ball-playing goalkeeper, and that limits how we play. You look at the FA Cup final, Ortega versus David De Gea, it's chalk and cheese. David De Gea isn't capable of kind of making himself almost a third centre-back alongside the two, what would be Varane and Martinez. He can't do that, and that limits us, especially given that's how David De Gea needs to play in an Erik ten Hag system. He can go low end of B tier. Next up is Diogo Dalot. 42 games played, 38 starts this season, with 2 goals and 3 assists thrown in there, which is fairly decent output for a fullback. He was fantastic before the World Cup. Before the World Cup, he was starting every game. He was the clear first choice right back. However, he got injured in that World Cup, and Wan-Bissaka came in and kind of stole his place in a way. He generally lost that kind of starting role in the big games. Barcelona in the Europa League, the FA Cup final, 2 big games, Wan-Bissaka started him. Generally though, Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot have both had great seasons. I'm going to give Diogo Dalot, because it's been very, very consistent, I'm going to give him a B. And I think that's a fairly safe B. Not good enough to kind of hit those A tiers, but definitely not a C. A happy B. Wan-Bissaka, 34 games, 28 starts, 1 assist, no goals. And as I mentioned on the Diogo Dalot point, start of the season, Wan-Bissaka didn't get a look. It looked like his career at Manchester United was done. Dalot got injured. Wan-Bissaka came in after the World Cup, clearly worked hard over the World Cup period, came back and was fantastic. Became a regular in the first team. Look at those 28 starts. And played in the big games. The Barcelona's, the FA Cup finals, the games against Chelsea, against the top sides in this division. And look at the Carabao Cup final. Even though he didn't start, Wan-Bissaka comes on to nullify Allan Saint-Maximin. It worked brilliantly. I think he's had a very good season, Wan-Bissaka, from a point where he looked done at Manchester United. He's a starter for Manchester United now, and there's no way I would be looking to sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka this season. I think he has so many attributes that no other kind of fullback really has. That ability to make a recovery challenge. His slide tackling in within itself is world class. And I think back to Wilfried Zaha at the end of last season when he said he was running through on goal. He looked back, saw Wan-Bissaka and thought, right, I'm not going to score, because he's so good at just making those recovery challenges, getting back and making an important tackle, important block. And for me, that sees Wan-Bissaka go into B tier. Next up is third choice centre-back Victor Lindelof, and we'll keep this one short. 35 games played, 27 starts. Those mainly came in the cup games and when Lisandro Martinez got injured. He's a good backup. He's done well. Like I say, he's third choice centre-back for a reason. He's not good enough to be kind of pushing the likes of Lisandro Martinez, Rafael Varane for first team spots, But as a backup goes, he's been fantastic. I'm very happy with him as a backup. B tier. Next up, Harry Maguire. 31 games, 16 starts. So he doesn't really get a lot of starts, especially when you consider the amount of games that we played in the Cup this season. 16 starts for what is now our 4th choice centre-back, despite being worth £80 million. It's not good, is it? And when you consider nearly half his games this season have come off of the bench, it kind of suggests how the season went for Harry Maguire. The amount of times he comes on the last 5 minutes to make a back three just to see out a game, that's where his games have come from really this season. He's not a first choice regular. I think he's maybe even be 5th choice, to be honest. When you consider the amount of games Luke Shaw's played as a left centre back this season, I don't see a future at Manchester United for Harry Maguire. I think you can sell him off for 30 million. And if Spurs come in for him, if Chelsea come in for him, if someone comes in for Harry Maguire for £30 million, I would be snapping their hands off. I think that's a great deal for Manchester United. It would be a great deal for Maguire. I don't see a world in which Harry Maguire has a future at Manchester United anymore. I would be selling him on. I'm going to have to give him a D tier. Next up, Raphael Varane. And look, he's been fantastic this season for us. 34 games, 31 starts. He's been Lisandro Martinez's partner, and they've both had a very, very good season. Varane obviously didn't start the season. He came in for Harry Maguire in that Liverpool game after we got embarrassed by Brentford. Generally, I think he's played well. Yes, he's got his pitfalls. Not brilliant on the ball, not the greatest on the ball. But as a defender, I think he's great. He's quick. He reads the game. He's got that winning experience. He's got the know-how to win games, see games out. And I think he's had a very, very good season. Whether that's alongside Maguire, whether that's alongside Lindelof or Luke Shaw, I think he's had a good season. And he firmly goes into A tier for me. Next up, Lisandro Martinez, 45 games, 38 starts. He scored his goal against Arsenal. The little man is a magician. He is so, so good. What can you say about him? So good on the ball. Off the ball, he's great. He's transformed this Manchester United defence into, well, the best in the Premier League in terms of clean sheets. Worth every single penny. That £50 million fee is, for me, it seems cheap how good he has been. Shame his season was cut short through injury against Sevilla, because honestly, he is world class. So good on the ball, so good off the ball. Even at his short height, he wins so many balls in the air. His duels, he's fantastic in. I never have any worries when he's got the ball or when he's defending. For me, clear S tier, arguably one of our players of the season. Alongside Martinez, we moved to Shaw at left back. 47 games, 40 starts, 1 goal, 6 assists, which is good output for a fullback. He's played as a left back as well as a left centre back, and he's been unreal in both. For my money, he's one of the best left backs in the world, not just in the Premier League. For me, he's probably the best left back in the Premier League. I don't see how he can go anywhere but S tier. He is unreal. Luke Shaw goes into S tier, and it's one of the easiest decisions we have on this list. Next up is Tyrell Malacia. He came in for £13 million this summer from Feyenoord. I think he's been very, very good this season. 39 games, 29 starts, and he's been a very reliable left back, a backup for Luke Shaw, who at 23 years of age will only get better and better. For £13 million in a market the way it is nowadays, that's a steal. That is an absolute steal. At times he has been used as a right back at Fulham and Leeds, when Diogo Dalot was injured and when Wan-Bissaka wasn't really trusted. And I think he played great there in both those games. Generally, it's hard for me to kind of pinpoint a place for Malacia, because while he has been great and has been reliable, he has had some poor games. It's a high C, low B for me. I'm going to put him a very high C. Moving on into the midfield, and we're looking at our midfield general. Casemiro came in for £60 million, 51 games this season and 43 starts for Manchester United, 7 goals and 6 assists for Manchester United this season, 13 yellow cards and 2 red cards. Some of those red cards, very dubious, but that's the way it is, isn't it, sometimes? I'm so happy we've got this bloke. Yes, on the ball he can be better and could be better, But I think we finally have the man that should have been partner in Paul Pogba at Manchester United for the last 5 years. He is an elite ball winner. And it's just a shame Casemiro comes in the year Pogba leaves, because those two together would have been a match made in heaven. Now, when you look at Casemiro, you look at the fee. The £60 million he cost a lot. But not only is he an elite ball winner, he brings experience. He's brought important goals. You think to the League Cup final winning goal. He scored some goals in the FA Cup against Reading. Equaliser against Chelsea. Massive, massive goals in massive, massive games. He's a leader. Look, you look at the games we missed him against. Leeds, we drew 2-2 and we played awfully in that first half. Arsenal, massively missed him when we lost to them 3-2. It's hard for you not to just applaud the signing of Casemiro. When I'm ranking him, I'm going to put him very top of A tier. Now, the reason he doesn't get into S tier is due to those suspensions. 13 yellow cards and 2 red cards. He missed so many games for us through suspension. I've had to knock him down one, but he's very, very close to being in S tier regardless. He's had a fantastic season, Casemiro. Next up is Scott McTominay. 39 games played, 16 starts, 3 goals, 1 assist. Not really trusted since Casemiro's signing. At the start of the season, McTominay was thrown in. He played against Liverpool, played against Arsenal when we beat both of those. And he was looking good. And he actually kept his place in the starting 11 even when Casemiro signed, which was a big compliment to McTominay. And something you had to applaud at the time because he was playing great. However, Casemiro came in and he wasn't trusted. And the over-reliance on Casemiro was there to be seen. And you look at the Crystal Palace game when Casemiro got his yellow card, which saw him suspended for the Arsenal game. If Scott McTominay was trusted, McTominay would have played that game and we wouldn't have arrested Casemiro. And because of that, I don't know how I can put him any higher than a C tier. He missed 15 games through injury, which is a lot. Generally, when he did play, when he weren't injured, I don't think he was great. There was no trust in him. He played sometimes as a 6, sometimes as an 8, at times as a 10. For me, again, a player I would be looking to move on in the summer. I don't see where he fits in this Manchester United team. D tier. Next up, we've got kind of Scott McTominay's partner in crime for so many years. We're going Fred. 56 games, 23 starts, 6 goals, 6 assists. And in the big games, we've often seen Casemiro started alongside this man, Fred. FA Cup final, he started, it was great. Obviously, Fred capitalised off of the injury of Eriksen this season. However, generally, I think he's been great. He's played pretty much every game. He's one of our top used players this season because whether or not he starts or not, he usually comes off the bench and makes an appearance just to kind of help see a game out. I think he's been somewhat hit and miss at times. Sometimes he's great, sometimes he's awful. And that's kind of the story of his Manchester United career. But generally this season, I think he's been more hits than misses. B tier for Fred. Next up is Marcel Sabitzer. Now, obviously, he joined in January from Bayern Munich as kind of a stopgap just to add more bodies to our team, as we were missing the likes of Donny van de Beek, Eriksen at the time. I believe McTominay might have been injured as well. We were missing numbers in midfield, so we signed Sabitzer. And generally, I think he played all right. 18 games, 11 starts, 3 goals, 1 assist, including that all-important winner in the FA Cup quarter-final against Fulham, that lovely flick over Bernd Leno, as well as 2 important goals against Sevilla in the Europa League, which really should have seen us win that leg. Obviously, Lisandro Martinez got injured and it didn't kind of work out. But Sabitzer, big in those sort of games. When he was playing, he was decent and I think the loan worked out. I wouldn't be looking to re-sign him. Unfortunately, he missed 8 games through injury come the end of the season, which is a shame. And we'll see him drop from a kind of maybe a B tier down to a C tier. He was all right, Marcel Sabitzer. Like I say, wouldn't re-sign him. Generally, he was all right. Donny van de Beek is next. 10 games, 4 starts, 0 90s played. Injured, killed his season. Missed 48 games this season. hard to rank. We'll throw him in C tier. Christian Eriksen joined this season on a free transfer from Brentford. 44 games played, 37 starts, 2 goals, 10 assists. Especially at the start of the season, I thought he was unreal. He was absolutely fantastic, linking up with the likes of Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Luke Shaw. That left-hand side was looking fantastic, and it was partly due to Christian Eriksen. Come the end of the season, I thought he fell off a little bit. Defensively, he's not great, and I do think he is a player that needs to be replaced, and not because he's not a good enough player. I think just because he is a stopgap in that position. I think defensively, you need someone who's willing to take the ball off the back line, can press better, can get around, is better in the tackle, better defensively, and that's just not Eriksen's game. He's playing in a position that isn't a natural to him, is fairly new to him, and I think he played really well there. The Reading injury kind of really hampered his season, missing 16 games through that, and because of that, I am going to drop him down into B tier. Very good season. A B isn't a bad ranking at all. B tier for Christian Eriksen. And our Portuguese Magnifico is next. Bruno Fernandes, the real captain of this team. 59 games played, 58 starts, only 1 game off of the bench. And he's been fantastic. 14 goals, 15 assists. He should be club captain. How he isn't, I don't know. And look, we missed him massively in the Sevilla second leg. Just his leadership, his ability on the ball, his ability to create and score goals. It's something that is really underappreciated by a lot of fans for me. He's a massive shout for our player of the season. He goes into the top tier. S tier for Bruno Fernandes. And it's one of the easiest kind of picks we're ever going to have on this list. Next up is Swedish winger Anthony Elanga. Now, under Ralf Rangnick last season, Elanga was a regular starter for us, playing on that right-hand side opposite to Jadon Sancho, and he actually benched Marcus Rashford. Elanga last season, he was good. However, this season, not really the same. 26 games played, however, only 7 starts and only 2 assists. And he's hardly even featured on the bench this season due to Palestra and Garnacho. Those two have just been the favoured options of Erik ten Hag. Now, at the start of the season, when Elanga was playing, generally, I thought he was all right. I remember against Sociedad in the first leg when we lost to them 1-0 due to a dodgy penalty. I thought Elanga was our best attacker at the start in that game. Against Liverpool, got the assist for Jadon Sancho's goal. Generally, I think he was all right. However, got forced out of the team due to the emergencies of Palestri and Garnacho. Really should have been loaded out in January. Dortmund came in for him, but for some reason we didn't sell him. He never featured for us this season. He goes into a C tier. He's a player that I see has potential. However, I don't know if that potential will be reached at Manchester United. Like I say, a C. Palestri's next. 11 games, 2 starts, 1 assist. Generally, when we saw Palestri, I thought he was quite good. Didn't play enough though. And that kind of limits where he can go. There's real potential in there. That's clear to see. We saw he looked like a bright spark. I remember he came on against Betis. It was fantastic. And for me, if he played more, maybe we could have seen a higher rank, but simply didn't play enough to get anything higher than a C for me. Next up is Brazilian winger Antony, signed for £81 million, played 44 games this season, starting 39 of those, scored 8 goals, 3 assists, and despite the big fee, I do think he played a good season. He looks promising, he gets better with each and every game, and he's a deserving first team regular. Like I say, he's getting better and better each game. I get he's not a massive fan of him at times. The showboating is a big turn off for some people, that spin he does. A lot of people don't like that. I love it. He scored some big important goals for us this season as well. Barcelona, the winner in that tie, scored on his debut against Arsenal. And I think he's got massive, massive potential. It's an A or B. I'm going to go B. For a player of £81 million, you probably expect a few more goals, a little bit bigger output than he got. And that, for me, is what brings him down. Otherwise, I would be more than happy to put him in A. Jadon Sancho is then next. 41 games, 29 starts for Jadon Sancho, 7 goals, 3 assists. So similar output to Antony in less games. And you have to remember as well, Jadon Sancho did have that long period over Christmas, November to kind of January, February time, where he was out in the Netherlands, kind of working on himself. He came back and he looked fairly lively. We've seen sparks of the Jadon Sancho that we saw at Dortmund, but we've not seen it enough. Consistency hasn't been there to kind of warrant that first team regular spot. When you look at a player like Antony, Marcus Rashford, who we'll get onto, Bruno Fernandes, they have been consistent, more consistent than Sancho has, and that's why they're regularly starting. I think, like I say, he's shone at times this season, not regularly enough. I'm going to put him alongside Antony in B tier. So next up on the list is Alejandro Garnacho. He's been a star this season. 34 games, 11 starts. I would like to see him start more often, but the games he has played, he's got 5 goals, 5 assists. He's a special, special player, isn't he? He is so electric. He gets you off your feet, off your seat. You're on your edge of the seat when he gets the ball. He takes players on. He gets you standing up. He gets you cheering. He is unreal, and I think he can go to the very, very top of this game. What is there to say about him? He's a young player who's only getting better. Erik ten Hag, I think, is the best coach for him at the moment, really. I couldn't think of anywhere else where I'd want to put him than A tier. He has been fantastic. You look at the games he doesn't even start. The FA Cup final, he came on and made a difference. He had Man City terrified. He was like the only player really in that game for Manchester United that did have Man City scared. He's a fantastic player. I want to see him start more often. I don't know where his future lies, though. With Marcus Rashford playing off the left where Garnacho plays, I don't see Marcus Rashford being moved on or moved out of the left wing unless you move him to centre forward. So then what does happen with Garnacho? Because he needs to start starting more games for me. Like I say, he's in A tier. Marcus Rashford, we just mentioned him at there. 56 games played, 46 starts, 30 goals, 11 assists. He's been our top goal scorer this season. He's probably been our star man. Between November and February, he was incredible, scoring so many goals. It's hard to put him anywhere else but in those top 2 tiers. He's a player that's played across that front line on the left, right, or up top. Not the complete player, but he's progressing well under Erik ten Hag. And I think Erik ten Hag really trusts him, really backs him. He's obviously got his trademark celebration. And when you've got an iconic celebration like that, he scored so many goals for us this season. There's no way you're going to go but the S tier. S tier for Marcus Rashford. And we'll just kind of rinse off the last few. Cristiano Ronaldo, 16 games, 10 starts, 3 goals, 2 assists. Not great. Caused massive problems at the end of his time at Manchester United. That Piers Morgan interview, the refusing to come on, so many things. And even when he did play, I don't think he was that great. I remember him missing chance after chance against the likes of Ammonia, whoever the other games we played in the Europa League. I don't think he was good this season for Manchester United. And then he was rightly moved on. D tier, easy as that. Martial was next. 29 games, 17 starts, 0 full 90s. Never managed a full 90. But when he did play, I think he played generally well. I'm a big fan of Martial. Scored 9 goals, 3 assists this season. However, his problem has been injuries this year. 6 injuries this season, 5 of them completely separate. And the 2 that were the same were polar ends of the season. That is a big issue for Anthony Martial. How does he keep getting injured? He just cannot stay fit. When he is fit, I think he is very good. And he should be our starting number 9 this season. Should we not sign someone else? And because of that, I'm going to put him in B tier. Just about. There's probably bias in that because he is probably one of my favourite players at Manchester United. He's very close to C tier. But because when he has played, I think he has played well. I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say B. Finally, Wout Weghorst came in on loan in January, played 31 games, 20 starts, which says a lot. Weghorst was here since January and he played more games than Martial. 2 goals, 3 assists. Let's be real, Martial was better than Weghorst. Weghorst wasn't great, but we signed him because we needed somebody. He did a job for us. He played at striker and at number 10. He was available, and that's the best thing and the best compliment you can pay to Wout Weghorst. He was always available for you. And because of that, he's going to go in C tier for me. And with Wout Weghorst then going into C tier, this is our final tier ranking. In S tier, Lisandro Martinez, Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford. In A tier, we have Rafael Varane, Casemiro and Alejandro Garnacho. In B tier, we have Antony, Diego Dalot, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Christian Eriksen, Fred, Jadon Sancho, Victor Lindelof, Anthony Martial and David De Gea. In C tier, we have Tyrell Malacia, Marcel Sabitzer, Donny van der Beek, Wout Weghorst, Anthony Elanga, and Feliciano Palestri. And in D tier, we have Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, and Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, if you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button below. Subscribe if you are new and you haven't already. That would be greatly appreciated. Let me know what changes you would make to my tier list. Who would you have in S tier and who would you have in D tier? So yeah, thank you all for watching and I'll see you all in the next one in a bit. Peace.